Hey, it's guys, I'm doing a update to this deck, which is Nightmare Voltron, basically. So that's essentially what Nightmare does. Just gets a +1/+1 for each swamp that you control. So, which he gets really quite big. So, but yeah. So I'm gonna go through the deck and show you guys what's in here. So I'm gonna split this up so it's easier for me to hold. So, Swamp, Mystic Forge, yeah, making sure you guys can see the cards and be able to read them. Cavernous Flows, name Horse, and then you can make or cast your Nightmare without being countered, which is actually really quite good. A lot of equipment's in here because it is a Voltron deck. Path of Ancestry, so the commander is more fun, so he counts as a horse basically. So you get a scry off that. Swamps, Maha. So it has flying trample, and then creatures your opponent controls have toughness or base toughness 1. I'm gonna set that aside because it goes along with a few other things that I have in here, so which I will get to eventually. Helmet of the Host, so you can actually copy the Nightmare and just make multiple and just essentially kill your opponent that way. Jamil, suppose you control can't be countered. So another way to be able to get off the Nightmare without being countered. So, and then you get to discover 5. So, attack Mimic. Where you would play a horse or any other creature type, you get a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So, more ways to make it bigger. Threaten Dynamo. Just be able to make more colors mana to be able to cast things. So try to make sure that you guys can read all the cards. So Swamps, Sword. So it puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and then you proliferate, meaning that you add a counter to anything that you really want, like whether it's poison, +1/+1, or anything else. So yeah. Patchwork Banner. The foil of this card has actually gone up a lot in price. I think the foil was like $20 last I checked. It might have dropped down since then, or at least a little bit since then. But yeah, last I had checked on it, was like the foil was like $20, and then the regular was like $3 to $4. So, and I got mine when they were like maybe $1 or $2, maybe $2.50, something like that. So, but yeah, I knew the card was going to go up in prices. Like I could just feel it just because it's an insane card for any tribal deck. So, Hostage Hammer. So, even though the Nightmare would lose flying, but since you have, or if you have protection from other stuff, then that doesn't really matter. So, yeah. The Excalibur. This thing's bonkers too. So, Luxor, or Luxior's Gyara's gift. Main thing is creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. And you can equip it to a creature as well. So Sword of Body and Mind. So your opponent mills basically 10 cards, and then you get to make a 2/2 wolf, basically. Mana Vault. So you get 3 colors mana, and then you have to pay 4 to untap it, basically. So more swamps. Hammer. So this one gives Indestructible. Double Strike, basically. Plague Mare. So I'm gonna set that aside as well. I'll let you read it, but I'll set that aside to explain after I'm done with this deck on what the whole concept is between a few cards. Sword of Fire and Ice. Cursed Summer, which is my mom's horse, as an alternate art. So, Tainted Strike, No Mercy, which is actually really quite good. Swamp, Forsaken Monument. So, color suppose tap for additional color. So, that 3 would be actually 6. Or, let's say there's one that makes like 5, 6 colors, then it'd be 12. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then the colors creatures get +2/+2, that doesn't really matter. And then when you cast a color spell, you gain 2 life, that doesn't really matter either. But the main thing is you get additional mana off this. So, Dark Ritual, Lotus Ring. You just get 3 black, and then Lotus Ring, you can also make mana off it as well if you choose to. Arcane Signet, Cossack Bronco. This card is just absolutely crazy. So if you sell it, then any damage that gets flipped off the top of your deck for, like, let's say I flipped Nightmare, then each opponent would take 6 damage because I solid it, and yeah, it's just an insane card. So, insane horse card anyway. Mithril Coat. This is really good as well. Even though Nightmare's not a legendary, but it's still a good card though. So, Swiftfoot Boots. A search card. Foodmog. I wanted something in here that was just like a giant bomb outside of Nightmare. So, this is why I decided to put in here. I think there's one more card that's in here that's a giant bomb as well, but I want at least a few other alternatives to use in here in case of the Nightmare gets outed. Then I have something like a plan B, basically. Swamp, Command Tower, and then sort of Sinew and Steel. So that's basically it for the first part of the deck. So now for the second part. So this is where I will explain the thing with these, or with 3 cards for you guys. So essentially what's going to happen here, or what I'm hoping to do, is creatures you control have Wither, which means that they deal damage in form of -1/-1 counters. So whenever a creature in opponent's control dies with toughness less than 1, draw a card. Which goes really well with Maha because it makes everything a 1 toughness. And then if you play Pugmare, then everything gets a -1/-1. So you essentially nuke your opponent's field, and then because of this, you get to draw a card. I'm assuming for each creature that died, but I would assume just maybe just one card off this. So it's like a lot of setup and kind of not very that great, but it's just something kind of unique and kind of cool that, you know, you can't really, or well, I shouldn't say that, but that our decks don't really have, so there's not a whole lot of anyway, but it's just kind of something, you know, cool and kind of different, so, but, yeah, so, and then now for the other half of the deck. So, Throne of Eldraine, so you choose a color, mainly being black, and then you get to add 4 mana of that color, so, only 2 cast monocolor spells, which works actually really well with all of the deck being monocolor, so. Swamp, Eldrazi's Conscription, so +10/+10 with, and has trample and another 2, so. Jolos, obvious, even though it doesn't really matter, but it does kind of help with casting the Morophon easier, so. Soul Ring, Lost Jets, so you can untap a land, target creature can't block this turn, and or put a +1/+1 counter on a equipped creature, so. Governor's Plate, Swamp, go to Lowe's, add 3 of any one color, so mainly being black. So I did get this. This card's actually kind of crazy. So it's basically Death Render. So equipped creature gets +2/+2. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may put a creature from your hand onto a battlefield and attach Death Render to it. So yeah. So essentially, what you can do with this is if you have another creature in hand that you're just kind of holding off on, like mainly if you have an Eldrazi or anything else and a weak creature dies, then you can essentially bring out the creature from your hand and then equip this onto it. So yeah. Anyways, I think Skull Clamp is one that you could probably use with this as well to make it die, so you can choose out something. So, which I may consider doing. So, so I'll have to see. But sorry if that blew out your eardrums for you guys. Sorry about that. So you basically get a +1/+1 for each land that you control. And then this just destroys gives a creature -X/-X, and then it cannot be countered. So makes it pretty good. Sword of Wealth and Power, so it makes treasure tokens, and then gives a creature protection from instants and sorceries. Crippling Fear, so you choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen that aren't of the chosen type gets -3/-3. So essentially kind of like a mini board nuke, I guess, in a way. So Swamp, basically essentially Thor's hammer, I guess you could say. So Nazgul, Battle Mace, creature gets Menace, Death Touch, and another 1. And then when our opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto a battlefield under your control unless they pay 3 life. So Swamp, Demonic Tutor. So you basically essentially search for any card in your deck and add to your hand, and you do not have to reveal it. So yeah. Blightsteel. Oh yeah, I forgot that. This was our big thing too. So Trample, Infect, and Instructable. So yeah, definitely a joy to deal with. Haunted Cloak, Swamp, Swamp, Semblance, Anvil. So you can exile basically anything, and then where you exile it, that same typing becomes 2 less to cast. So like if it's a creature, your creatures become 2 less to cast, and so on and so forth. So Swamp, Burnish Heart, just to get more lands onto the field. Thought Vessel, more swamps. Immortal Sun, spells cost 1 less to cast, and then you get additional draw during your draw step, and then creatures you control get +1/+1. So, Elixir Immortality. So, you get life off it, which is pretty good. But the main reason why this is in here is that if your artifacts go to the grave, then you have a way to recycle them. So, which is not too bad. So, sort of light and shadow. Mox Amber. Basically, just make a mana or for what your commander is. So you do have to control this though in order to tap that for mana, but that's usually not that big of a deal. So Cryptghast. So when you tap a swamp for mana, then you add additional swamp. So 3 Tree City, Swamp, Commander Sphere, a Swamp, Mana Crypt, Overwhelming Forces. So this is also another way to let you draw cards. So you destroy all creatures target opponent controls, and then draw a card for each way, or for each creature destroyed this way. So, and then Champion's Helm, which gives a creature hexproof, and then Draina. So where it deals counter damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So it's another way to buff your creatures and just make them bigger. So yeah, so that's basically it for the deck. So thank you for watching, and I will catch y'all in the next video, I guess.